feel that tomorrow. Yeah.
Good, how are you?
Looking forward to spring rain.
Yep.
That'll be all right.
Hey, Corey.
Love enough, huh? I have an older sister that's been Arizona year round, so. No, I haven't yet. No. My brothers have been there. Me and Don don't travel very much. Did it really?
So the YouTube is live right now. So you guys can keep talking.
Okay.
You can just turn off your mic while you or watch what you say.
Which one is the mic, the off button?
Right.
Circle is off.
Okay. Make sure you turn it on.
Hi, Myrna. How are you? Right here. How many days? No, I don't know, 24, 23? One of the two. Oh.
Hey.
I talked to her that I said, how was I to dress for her? Yeah. We found one.
The only bright spot, bright spot on the way from
Your back is.
I thought of you that way, actually.
Oh. Well, yeah.
I did say only.
Only.
Do you want paper or do you want,
If you got paper, I'll take paper there too.
There we go.
iPad? Look at this. I got this one set up for my office here.
Okay.
Todd, do you want to get off?
I believe it must be, yeah. Seems like it wasn't that long ago.
You guys want to meet more often?
No.
No, okay. I can arrange that.
I'm sure you could.
I know people.
You know, and we can say no.
I've been to it.
Looking to January or so for John Jenkins sub. Brandon, how are ya? Hey Brandon, I got an extra full packet here. Mind giving one to Dave too? He might like a.
All right, thanks.
Can I grab He knew he wouldn't be able to be here.
So when we get to that item, if we could read those both.
Yep.
One is in the packet and one I just got
Yep.
today.
1 minute. Oh, good. Tea. 4 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Got roll call, Angie?
Verna Wagner. Dean Field.
Present.
Tom Booth. Mark Klein Waltering.
Yes.
Bailey Eldersma. Fred Grimes.
Yes.
Dennis Vandenhall. Chris Knuckles. Tim Potabom.
You're loud. Um, Okay, need to approve the minutes from May 12, 2021.
We approve minutes from May 12, 2021.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Wagner. Field.
Yes.
Booth.
Yes.
Klein Waltering.
Yes.
Eldersma. Brian.
Yes.
Vandenhall.
Yes.
Next item on there is acknowledged decision to waive subdivision requirements for lot split at 3130 Nest Avenue. Sam, you want to give a
Yeah.
little brief what's going there?
Be happy to. So this is very similar to the one that was brought up, or that occurred in November of last year that I reported to the commission. I believe it was in March. So in 2009, there was a request involving the development of several lots near Smith's Pit, which was pre-Nest Haven, and the resolution at that time was approved by the city council to waive the subdivision jurisdiction. And the situation in this case, in my opinion, is the same as the Lodi situation, which I took care of last fall and then reported to you in March. And the first is that this is not a housing development. Secondly, the subdivision code gives the zoning administrator more ability to make field decisions. Section 11 in the subdivision code does not have a definition of city, i.e. zoning administrator, P&Z commission, or city council. So in consulting with our city attorney at that time on the Lodi request, a waiver by the zoning administrator is proper, yet it should be referenced in the city records so that it is clear as to what occurred. So what's occurring in this case involving John Van Gorp, he was selling his acreage, and he wanted to plat off and retain his shed. So I've laid out the rationale in my explanation on why I made the decision that I did, and just reporting it to you today.
Thanks, Sam. So we need a motion to waive that, correct?
It's a motion to acknowledge, so I'm basically reporting to you what I did, and if the commission ultimately feels that I made a mistake, then I stand chastised for next time. So that's kind of how I would view it.
Do you have a motion to acknowledge what Sam's decision was there?
So move.
Do you have a support?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take roll.
Eldersma. Brian.
Yes.
Vandenhall.
Yes.
Wagner. Field.
Yes.
Booth.
Yes.
Klein Waltering.
Yes. Next item, update on annexations and affirm zoning. Sam?
Thank you. We've done 3 annexations recently. We do not annex property very often, but we've done 3, 2 parcels in O'Brien, 1 in Sioux, and the way code works is it comes in at the closest zoning classification as to what it was when it was in the county. Sioux County, well, they're really both easy because the Jenkinson parcels are currently in ag use, so clearly agricultural is that one, and then Sioux County is zoned, so Tradewinds Apartments were zoned residential multiple there, so just really affirming the zoning, and then I've attached an explanation that talks about the zoning map updates that Todd and I are working on with Schlotfelt Engineering. Pat Bickett helps us with our maps, so that will be coming forward to the City Council sometime next year. So really what I'm looking for is today is a motion to affirm the zoning of those 3 parcels and to direct that the zoning map be updated accordingly.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move that.
Second.
Any discussion or questions for Sam? Roll call.
Field,
Yes.
Wagner. Booth,
Yes.
Helgersma,
Yes.
Simulfray,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Annenhall.
Yes.
That is it for old business. New business, consider request from AGP to vacate Railroad Avenue between West 7th and West 8th Street. Sam?
All right, so let me briefly explain the process, and we have 2 public comments that will that I can read, or the chairman can read into the record, and then open the floor for comment. So in April of this year, we received informal notice from AGP of a multi-million-dollar upgrade to their Sheldon facilities. The letter was provided to the City Council in April and the P&Z Commission in May. They're asking for an abandonment of Railroad Avenue and also 2 very small parcels, right-of-way parcels to the west side of Railroad Avenue. The process for abandoning a public right-of-way requires 3 City Council agenda items, one which has already occurred, plus a P&Z Commission item, which is today. The notices, there's discretion in the code as to when the notices can be sent. The notices can be sent in advance of the council hearing or the P&Z hearing. I felt it was appropriate to send them in advance of this hearing to give ample opportunity to comment. The zoning permit is attached, and in this case, for you, it gives you additional context of what is being requested. You're, of course, allowed to consider the substance of the proposal as part of your recommendation, but really what is before you is the vacate of the street. The zoning is proper, so you're not being asked to consider the zoning, and the zoning permit needs to go to the Board of Adjustment due to setback requirements, and so that is being worked through. The Board of Adjustment will probably meet in January or early February to discuss that. So any questions of me before we get into the public comment?
So Sam, it doesn't impact 7th Street or 8th Street, just the Railroad Avenue between those 2.
That is correct. Ultimately, it would affect A Street in a positive way because there would be a rebuild of a portion of A Street. Correct? At some point. Could you elaborate on that? You helped us out with that part of it.
It was just discussed that if this expansion were to happen, it would likely increase the amount of truck traffic to some degree on West 8th Street. A portion of that road right now that is ridden on or used by AGP is not built for semi-type traffic. It's not falling apart by any means yet, but it is showing signs of stress. So one of the things we talked about is them providing money as part of this request to upgrade a portion of West 8th Street. Now, whether that was done immediately as part of the project or at a later date when it's in need, I think is in question yet. But so it'd be from Railroad Avenue west a few hundred feet is what's been discussed.
Todd, is this just west of Land O'Lakes' warehouse then? Is that street, or is it
Yeah,
from where you back in with trucks to their warehouse?
correct. And I believe there's a letter from Land O'Lakes
Yeah, I saw that,
in your
and
packet.
they're okay with it?
AGP and Land O'Lakes have been having discussions, and I think I
Okay.
can let them comment on that.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering if that were abandoned, could they move that street out further so you can get out of town going north? Because you're gonna have a lot of trucks coming in there and trying to turn around yet. If you abandon that street, because you got traffic from two different directions, but the street's not there anymore?
I'm not following you.
Okay.
The trucks come in to AGP right now off of 2nd Avenue. Monty, jump in if I'm wrong, but then they come west on West 7th, and then on to Railroad, and then into AGP's lot there to the west.
Mhm.
And I think some of Farina's do the same, or Land O'Lakes do the same, but the AGP and Land O'Lakes have an agreement for an
Okay.
ingress-egress agreement, essentially.
All right, that's what I just wanted to make sure that there
Yeah.
was room there to, that somebody's not blocked from getting turned around in there.
Should not be according to the agreement between AGP and Land O'Lakes.
All right.
Monty, do you have any comments? Tell us a little bit about what the project entails.
I think Todd kind of said it all. Basically what we're looking at, trucks come in on 7th Street from 2nd Avenue. Some do also come in on 8th Street to Railroad Avenue, swing into our property. What this would change is all trucks would come in on 7th Street and then turn onto Railroad Avenue onto our property, pull out onto 8th Street to swing in our bays to get loaded, and then once they're loaded, pull out of our bays to the north back onto the Railroad Avenue, and then exit to 7th Street back to 2nd Avenue.
But what if somebody comes in backwards? If they come in on 8th Street instead of on 7th Street, how do you get turned around?
We do, because of Land O'Lakes and their use of Railroad Avenue, we will be moving that access over to the west so they can still get through there.
Okay.
So they make several trips with trucks going in and out with their scale and unloading and loading.
Okay.
So they will still have access to get through there.
All right. Yep, good.
So, what is the project, and will there be a lot more truck traffic?
We're expecting more truck traffic in hopes of this because we'll be able to load trucks faster, which means that we'll load fewer rail cars. I guess numbers to be determined, but that's the plan for it.
Eventually, it'd be nice if they could use that old street going north instead of, since Ag Partners kind of closed their lot to get out of there with trucks. They used to use that years ago, but now it's posted at 5 ton or something like that. But that's, like you say, that truck's probably not really, or that street's not made for heavy traffic either because it's kind of busted up. Yeah. Yeah, but then it sends them all onto Northwest Boulevard or the old, where otherwise. Yeah. Okay.
Anybody else have any questions of Monty? Thanks, Monty.
Yep, thank you.
Let's read these now. We do have a couple letters here from the community in response to the request. First one is from Delbert Wallinga via the AGP project. It would be nice to reduce truck traffic on West 10th Street if possible. It would also be nice if they could reduce the dryer noise. It is loud and sound does travel farther than they realize unless you live in the area. You can also hear it downtown. The closing of the street does not bother me. The reducing of the dust is good. That come from Delbert Wallinga. Then we got another one here from Jesse Grady. To whom it may concern, I am writing today in reference to the proposal to close Railroad Avenue between West 7th Street and West 8th Street. I am the property owner at 820 2nd Avenue, Sheldon, Iowa, and run a construction business from there. I do not want the street closed. I use the street 7 days a week, and the majority of the days I use it multiple times a day. If that street were closed, it would put a burden upon me and my business. Please do not close this street. Thank you, Jesse Grady. So 2 written comments. Do we ask for? At this point, does anybody in the audience have any comments? Dave?
I've owned property at the west end of town there, a couple lots down from AGP, and over the years, they've gone from being a dust maker to being rebuilt and refurnished, and dust reduction has been considerable. And I would urge you to approve the closing of the street, because it would be good for both the company and the city and make it more of a viable business. And also the trucks would have a fixed way to get in and out more so than what they do now. And I have to say that the truck drivers are very courteous there. And I go through there 4 or 5 times a day, every day, so, and closing of that street wouldn't bother me a bit.
Thanks, Dave. Any other comments? Questions? So we have that proposal out there, or that request out there.
So, question, Jesse's not here, but he's saying that, does he have what other options does he have then for his business? He says it would put a burden upon me and my business.
Myrna, in answer to what you got there, he's at 820 2nd Avenue. He can either leave the property and get onto 2nd Avenue and travel all the way to 7th and then head west and then go up that other street to get to his other shed, or he can leave out the back side of his property and be on 1st Avenue, which runs right along behind Morgan's and that. It's not a paved road, but it is a street that goes all the way to 7th Avenue. So he's either, when he leaves his property now, he either leaves on 1st Street, 1st Avenue, or 2nd Avenue. So he just continues on those 2 avenues to the north to 7th and then goes on.
First Avenue, plowed, gravel.
A rough alley. I rode down it today and it wasn't real smooth, so.
Maybe it.
I guess that was my question, is that since you're closing that street, and there probably will be more traffic on First Avenue, especially between 7th and 8th Avenue there, to maintain that fairly well. Yep. Yep. Sure.
Monty, would you mind addressing, the letter that was given to us on the reduction of truck traffic on West 10th? I mean, clearly that was designed for the additional traffic, and I don't think that that's possible to reduce the traffic on West 10th, but would you address that, please?
Correct. No, that's our bean trucks coming into the facility. So this project would not have any reduction or have anything to do with the truck traffic on West 10th. That's the only direction that our loaded bean trucks can come in. They can exit out on our little blacktop area going to 8th Street if they're empty there. But typically all of them go in and out on West 10th Street as far as bean trucks.
Could you also briefly talk about the dust control and the reduction in the train traffic? Or I'm sorry, you'll use more trucks and less trains, so theoretically the train tracks will be blocked less, correct?
Correct. Yep. As we load cars, they get pulled across 8th Street. So if we load more truck traffic, then that would reduce the number of cars that we load. The truck traffic, this whole project is based on being able to load trucks faster, get them in and out quicker, meaning we'd have more customers coming in so they didn't have to wait for a meal or sit in line and wait to get loaded. With this project, there are bag houses on each silo that would be built. New bag house for aspiration over the truck as it's loaded, along with bag house for the equipment as well with the meal that's conveyed over to the silos.
Last question is approximately how many full-time employees do you have in our community?
40 when we're fully staffed. We'd appreciate more.
Understood.
Wouldn't we all? Any other questions, Amani? Thank you.
Yes.
The request is before us.
I move approval of the request from AGP to vacate Railroad Avenue between 8th Street and 7th Street. And the well, whatever the other pieces are called that go along with it.
Adjacent parcel.
All right, thanks.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion, further discussion, questions?
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
So is it contingent on this $300,000 allowance? Is that something that is like contractual of some sort, or is that just a verbal agreement?
It would be contractual, Tom, so as this moves through the process, the next step would be to set a hearing at the council and then have the hearing at the council. And it would be at the actual hearing, and there would be approval of the contract where the money exchange would be formalized. I have a placeholder on next week's council agenda to set the hearing. I'm not sure when the hearing would be because I need to work with the attorneys on that schedule, so it depends on both AGP and the city attorney in terms of the schedule. I'm not sure we'll be able to do it on January 5. It might be January 19, but we'll see how it plays out.
That's outside of the 300,000.
Yes.
There is a agreement to execute a reciprocal easement agreement to allow Land O'Lakes, and that will be part of this also. And it says Land O'Lakes Marina fully supports AGP's project and the street vacation, so I would be okay with it. Did you get a second?
We do have a second.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Dave? Thank you, Dave. Anything else? We have a motion on the floor in a second. We'll take a roll.
Vandenhull,
Yes.
Elgersma,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Wolfering,
Yes.
Yes.
Field,
Yes.
Motion carried. Any other business here, Sam?
Yes, two very brief items. One is the report on zoning permits, speaks for itself. And had a busy year, and we're expecting an even busier year next year, thanks in part to AGP. So we'll see some records shattered, I think, next year with our zoning permits. The second thing I want to bring up is that we'll be meeting here in the next few months to talk about John Jenkinson, his subdivision that is being planned for east of his homestead, which is just east of St. Pat's Cemetery on the south side of 9th Street. So that will be coming to you for subdivision consideration sometime in the next few months. And that's, right now, the subdivision submittal is being worked on by his attorney and ours. That's all I have.
Thank you, Sam. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Do we have a
Second that.
roll?
Wagner,
Yes.
Field,
Yes.
Booth,
Yes.
Yes.
Elgersma,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Vandenhull,
Yes.
We are adjourned.